Hey, I'm back today to do an individual book review. I picked up this book. I believe it was actually on one of Zoella's book lists. I love Zoe. I don't know if I've ever talked about this online. She's one of my very favorite YouTubers, and I kind of love that she promotes books. I don't read everything that she recommends. I feel like she often recommends young adult books, and I'm not always drawn to those stories, but this one is called Moxie, and this was on her list. I'm almost positive it was on her list. I should check that. So I put it on my to be read, and then I just randomly saw it at the library, and I'm like, yeah, I'll pick that up. Like, cool cover, bright pink on the inside. It looks cool. It's got that, like, it mentions like zines. Picking this up. So I started reading this 3 days ago or something, and I could not put it down. So the basic story is small town Texas, and young Vivian goes to high school in kind of a stereotypical American high school where the sports bros, specifically football, rule the school and everybody else is just kind of there. There's a lot of that kind of macho culture where they can do no wrong, and there's a lot of sexism, and there's a lot of crossing the line in terms of boys assaulting girls specifically is what they talk about in this one. So she takes it upon herself. She gets real angry and worked up. She takes it upon herself to start a zine. They actually do show the zine, so this is the first one. So I loved that, kind of that you get to see that quality of zines if you've ever read one. I don't know how big they are anymore, but I had them. I had ones that my friends created, so that was kind of cool and nostalgic. But she just starts it and talks a lot about like riot girls and her mom's kind of feminist agenda when she was younger and how she's trying to kind of figure it out for herself. So my favorite thing about this is just that it was presented so wonderfully for a young adult. I think that a young woman or young man could read this, and I hope that it would encourage them to speak up when something is done to them. We all experience sexism, not just females. We all experience this all the time, and that's why those posts like #MeToo and all of these harassment things have come out, because we all experience it. Unfortunately, this is our culture. And I think what this book can do is to talk about the fact that, like, when a guy says something to a girl in this book, you read it and you're like, oh my God, that's awful. And it might not be like he raped her. It might just be like when he says, go make me a sandwich, and he thinks it's really funny and this person is taking it personally. And they talk about like, we should speak up and that should not be allowed. And I really appreciated that. And I think that that's the most important thing to say about this book, is that hopefully it's going to present that in a way where like a high school person or younger or older may feel encouraged to speak up against that and be like, no, this is not okay. Like, just because you didn't attack me, rape me, kiss me against my will, whatever, it doesn't mean that like it wasn't an assault or a cross of my personal boundaries. I will say that some of the events in this book were a little more extreme. I think, you know, like some of the footballers do things really outwardly inappropriate, and I don't know if that's everybody's experience. It was not my experience, and I work in an environment like that, and that's not what happens outwardly. Adults are not outwardly ignoring when people are being sexually assaulted. I do, however, think that women and teenagers are experiencing this kind of everyday sexism, maybe not in this extreme way, but I think that people are experiencing this everyday sexism, and I think it's important to talk about, and I think it's important to talk about in a way like this, where it's not just a sensational piece of news where people can just dismiss it. I think that somebody could read this and really learn from it and take something with them from it. One other thing that I do think was cool is that they talk about what exactly feminism is. I think oftentimes that word is taken in like a man-hating way. I think that's actually used, that description is used in the novel, and it doesn't have to be that, and I don't think it is that in general. And I think it's cool the way they present that, and also talk about defining it and defining it for yourself. And it's just, you know, about equality and all of that. One interesting thing that I thought that they did was that the main character becomes interested in a boy, and I think that was kind of cool, because right away I was kind of like, why are they making her interested in a boy? Like, why are we not just focusing on the female message of this? But actually it's reality, and I think that was really interesting. And also then, because she's kind of taking a stand and making this point about feminism and all of this stuff, it was interesting because you see his take on it as well, and that sometimes, like, men, even, you know, even though they're not evil, they may not think everything is that big of a deal. And I just, she has to deal with that. She has to deal with him being like, well, that's not that big of a deal, and they have to have that conversation. And I think that in that way, then maybe someone who doesn't think these issues are a big deal could read that and hopefully identify with that character. And also, I think it just gave a good conversation and a good way to deal with that. And going with that, I think they talk at one point, a character is suggested that he attempted to rape somebody, and one of the male characters, like one of the good male characters in the story, says, well, that's a really serious accusation, so you shouldn't jump on it right away. And I think that that has been happening a lot in our media, and probably just in everyday conversation, just because of what is happening with our media and celebrities and all of that right now too. So overall, I just think that this book was so good, but also really, really easy to read. And I think a lot of people could read this and like this. So all in all, those are my thoughts. Hopefully they came out in a cohesive way. As soon as I finished this today, I was like, I need to talk about this. And I'm super excited to hear other people's opinions on it. I have not heard anybody else mention it, so I'm looking forward to that. If you have any comments on this, if you have read this, I would really love to hear other people's opinions, positive or negative. And yeah, so thank you for watching if you did, and I hope you have a good day. See you later.